So, when to call on the Divine Mother versus the Divine Father. I already did a part 1 on this video, or this little series, I guess, on how we are in the golden era. We're birthing the golden era where we are ending toxic patriarchy, and we are entering a era where we are integrating the divine feminine, because we all have divine feminine and masculine energies within us. Everything does. Yin and yang. So, when to call on the Divine Mother, Sophia, or if you want to even call upon any of the other archetypes, the feminine archetypes. So think of Sophia as your interior guide, because Sophia lives within you. You call on her when the path is blurry, when your path is blurry, and you need the eyes to see. You call her for discernment when you are at a crossroads. You can also call on Hecate for this as well, and when logic isn't enough. You call on her when you need that gut feeling or that soul knowing. You call on the divine feminine during your dark night of the soul. Sophia is the one who fell into darkness to bring light back. She understands human suffering and the process of waking up. You can also call on her for creative birth, when you are birthing a new project, a new version of yourself, or the new earth. She is the midwife of consciousness, and that's also Lilith. So Sophia, or the divine feminine, obviously is connected to nature, obviously, Mother Earth. So you can also call on the divine feminine when you need help grounding your spirituality into your physical body and the earth. Now, when to call on the God, the Father, Source. So think of the divine masculine as a protective container and the final authority. When you need structure and order, when your life feels chaotic and you need boundaries, discipline, or a right action to take. You call upon him for protection when you need the shield or the strength to stand firm in your truth, for ultimate surrender. When you want to return to a still point, the source from which all things come and to which all things return. Now, in one of my last videos, I did mention Lilith. I did talk about Lilith. And when we are talking about God the Father or just the masculine, we don't have to think about it as gender either, because Lilith is the shadow side of, for example, Isis and Sophia, and the shadow side of you is your masculine side. So tapping into either energies, masculine or feminine, has nothing to do whether you are a girl, a boy, or non-binary, none of that. It has nothing to do with gender. It's just the energy of masculine and feminine. I hope I'm making sense. But yeah, so the masculine energy or the father energy is the word that speaks reality into existence. You use this when you need to manifest through clear, direct intent. So a simpler distinction between the two, you can call upon the father or the masculine when you need to be held or directed, and you call on Sophia or the feminine when you need to understand or transform. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the history of when the shift happened of suppressing the divine feminine. Now, obviously, feel free to do your own research. I'm still actively learning about all of this, so also feel free to correct me in the comments. So from what I learned, the shift occurred in waves, primarily between 4000 BCE and 500 CE. So first, the rise of warrior cultures. This is between 4000 to 2000 BCE. So there's evidence that suggests that earlier old European societies were matrifocal and peaceful. This changed with the invasion of nomadic tribes who brought Indo-European sky gods, deities of lightning, war, and conquest. The result of this, the Earth Mother was demoted, and the warrior king became the supreme divine image. Next, the Axial Age and literalism. This was between 800 to 200 BCE. So as organized religions began to codify their text, the metaphors for God became increasingly masculine. In the Old Testament, the Queen of Heaven was edited out or vilified to establish strict monotheism centered on a singular male patriarch. And then next, the institutionalization of Christianity. This was between 300 to 500 CE. So early Christianity was diverse. Some groups, like the Gnostics, revered Sophia and gave women leadership roles. However, when the Roman Empire adopted Christianity as a state religion, it mirrored the Roman military structure, hierarchical, male-led, and rigid. The result: figures like Mary Magdalene were rebranded as sinners, and Sophia was tucked away into obscure philosophy. So the reasons were less about hating women and more about control and consolidation of power. The divine feminine represents direct experience and intuition. If you can talk to God, Sophia, directly through your own heart and the earth, you don't need a middleman, such as a king or a priest. By removing the feminine, the church became the only authorized gatekeeper to the divine. The feminine is deeply tied to the body, birth, and sexuality, and the earth. To control a population, you must make them fear their natural instincts by labeling the body and the earth as fallen or sinful. The patriarchy could keep people looking upward toward a distant, judgment male god, rather inward at their own sovereign power. As already mentioned, patriarchy relies on linear inheritance. To ensure a father's property went to his biological son, women's autonomy and sexuality had to be strictly regulated. The goddess represented a wild, untamable agency that didn't fit into a tidy ledger of ownership. Over time, this suppression led to a collective amnesia. We forgot that God could be a mother, that nature is sacred, and that intuition is a valid form of intelligence. The patriarchy didn't just hurt women. It orphaned everyone. It left us with a father, but no mother, a mind, but no body, and a house, but no home. The return and why it's happening now. So this is happening because the old systems are literally crumbling under the weight of their own imbalances. Climate change, burnout, mental health cries. The feminine frequency is naturally rising to restore equilibrium.